Yes. Good evening once again, everyone, and welcome back to this week's edition of DMs with PM. It is an absolute pleasure to be back and, of course, to be your host for this evening's program. And I'd like to take the opportunity to say special welcome to our viewers on YouTube and Facebook, and, of course, our listeners via radio, Power FM, Vibes FM, Karaku, Star FM, Fusion FM, GBN, WeFM, GIS, and of course, all those who are tuned in every week. We want to say thank you so very much, and those who do the honors of sharing the live to ensure others get the opportunity to be part of the interactive program with our Prime Minister. So we jump in right into it because you know an hour goes by pretty quickly, and I know you have lots of questions you'd like to ask of the Prime Minister. Lots have been happening, and we'd like to get into that as well. So without any further ado, let me say a special evening, Prime Minister, and it's good to be back with you again. How are you?
I'm very well. Thank you for having me. It's good to have you back as well. Season's greetings to you, and season's greetings to all of the viewers, those who are on radio and on the live stream. It's a pleasure to be with you again this not so overcast Tuesday evening.
Yeah, we've been getting it for the past couple of days, but not completely. It's my kind of weather. So, like I said, lots has been happening. I know we spoke a lot about, the budget last week. And I want to jump into, yesterday's outing. You flew to Guyana for the opening of the consulate in Guyana. Talk to us about that and the importance of that sort of connection with Guyana.
Well, first, I think it's important for us to appreciate that we don't take the bilateral relations between our CARICOM member states for granted. Oftentimes, we have full-fledged embassies in North America, in London, in Ottawa, in Canada. We have as far afield as in Dubai. But we don't have full-fledged actual embassies in any of the Caribbean islands. And the opening of the Honorary Consul office in Guyana is strategic, I think, for two reasons. One, it's a gateway to South America. And two, I think we all know Guyana is the fastest growing economy, perhaps in the Western Hemisphere, if not in the world. And so there are significant economic opportunities in Guyana and significant opportunities to strengthen economic trade, economic business between Guyana, Grenada, and the rest of the OECS and CARICOM. So having an honorary consul there, I think, is strategic for that reason. Second, we actually have quite a number of students who are now studying in Guyana. Some of them are on scholarships provided by the kind compliments of the government and people of Guyana. And it's important that if we have, concentrations of Grenadians in a particular area, that they have access to consular services and other things that they may be required from time to time. And a good example would be, for example, in Jamaica. When we had the hurricane, oftentimes you need people who will be able to provide the kinds of assistance in terms of mobilizing, finding your citizens, making sure that they can be taking you off, etc. So that's one of the key reasons. The person who's the honorary consul himself is head of the Guyana Private Sector Organization. That organization provided significant support to us in the aftermath of Hurricane Beryl. The gentleman's two children were educated at St. George's University. So Komal has, in a sense, knows Grenada very well. He's a very successful Guyanese businessman. a very successful Caribbean business person with significant contacts, connections, and vast experience. And therefore, I think he's well placed to represent Grenada in Guyana. And I want to give you an example of the kinds of things that he's been doing. And in fact, I got a message today from someone, and I hope she doesn't mind. Well, I don't think she minds me reading it out, because it gives an example of what I'm talking about in terms of the reason why we do things like that. I hope I can find it quickly. So I'm going to ask your viewers to bear with me. Lots of messages. Okay, I may have to come back. Oh, there it is. Good morning, my dear Prime Minister. Compliments of the season to you and your family. Wonderful to see the consulate in Guyana. Guyana has just ordered a 20-foot container from us, and Mr. Kumal personally got us into Massy stores. I commend him to you. We see all you are doing and are immensely proud and grateful. And P.S. we also won the CCS 2025 Business Excellence Award. Warmest regards, Elo. Now, Elo is one of the sponsors of the show. Mm-hmm. You want to guess? All right, Island Pure Wipes. So this is a perfect example. Elo was discussing with me. Quite coincidentally, I visited Elo's factory because my daughter had a school project and wanted to visit a small manufacturer in Grenada. And she and a friend picked Island Pure Wipes, and I went with them. And in seeing what Elo was doing, seeing the manufacturing that was taking place, she then told me about the fact that she was trying to get into the Guyanese market. But her product had to be shipped all the way to Miami and then back to Guyana. And I called Kumal, and Kumal was able to get direct shipping between Grenada and Guyana. And now you have production going to the point where you have a 20-foot container of Island Pure Wipes made in Grenada, been shipped and sold in Guyana, and she's gotten into Massy stores, which is probably the best known, biggest regional supermarket. So that is why we have an honorary consulate. That's the kind of persons we need who support Grenadian businesses. And congratulations to Elo, and thank you, Kumal, for helping out Elo. So I hope this is an inspiring story for other small manufacturers to see the Guyanese market as a place for them to try and do business and successful business with.
Yeah, because we always look at the U.S. and other places first as a first stop, and there are so many avenues that we can explore in the Caribbean. So that is definitely a wonderful initiative. Apart from that, you are also part of the Connected Caribbean Summit 2025. Yes. Speak to us about that as well.
Well, the summit is yes, I deliver an address, but it's a wider sort of Caribbean powerhouse of intellectual, successful business people, digital people, the judiciary, security. To really talk about how we keep pouring the Caribbean, I would say, beyond where we are currently. And it really brought together great Caribbean minds to discuss, to find consensus, and then to articulate what are the things we need to do to be able to make sure that the Caribbean remains and becomes more successful. So these summits are important because we have to get the right ideas, and then more importantly, we have to implement and make sure we can scale up across the Caribbean. A lot of the problems we face in the Caribbean, we will simply not solve it on our own if we don't have the partnership and the support from our brothers and sisters in the region. So it was a great summit. I, unfortunately, with my schedule, only attended the opening session. But as you can see, you just heard, for example, Elo won Business Excellence Award. So it's part of also recognizing Caribbean excellence and entrepreneurs and other persons who make significant contributions to the Caribbean. So for all those who were involved and who made it a success, I want to say congratulations, and we are very happy to have hosted it in Grenada.
Wonderful. Folks, we have to take a quick break, and of course when we come back, we will definitely be in the DMs.
It's like the water pure and clean. It's a comfort anytime you need it. It's for everybody, fresh and green. You can count on us, there's nothing like it. It's homegrown. It's island pure. It's homegrown.
And welcome back again to all our viewers and listeners of DMs with PM. If you're just joining us, thank you so much for being part of our Tuesday evening interactive session. Well, it's about time for us to take to the streets with Norris. Are we going to the DMs? No. You see what happens when you leave me on for too long? I start getting confused with who have to be where. All right. We're going to start taking your questions, and then we're going to come back to deal with Norris. Blame Madam Producer for that. Thank you. All right, we're getting right into it. We have Nats with the first question. What measures or laws can be put in place for delinquent fathers who fail to pay child support? And with Christmas just around the corner, it's a very good question.
Yes, Nats. Actually, there are laws in place already to hold delinquent fathers who don't contribute financially to their children accountable. The mother of the child can actually apply for child support at the magistrate's court, and it's a process that they can do themselves or they can retain a lawyer to do. The challenge with that type of enforcement proceedings is that if the father doesn't pay, the sanction is the risk of going to jail. But if the father is in jail, then you're almost guaranteed that there will be no funding available, simply because it will be difficult for him to find the money while in jail. So I think the more fundamental issue is, how do we get men to not just contribute financially to their children, but to actually grow their children up and to be active in their lives and to be supportive and to actually be fathers. And I think that's where teaching parenting is one tool. That's where the value system that we also teach in our society also has to be critical and important. And those are some of the challenges we face in our society, making sure that men live up to their responsibilities. So we have to grow men up who actually take themselves and fatherhood, adulthood, and being a parent seriously, not just from a financial contribution, but from actually helping to grow and groom and place the right values in the children. So it requires advocacy, it requires teaching, and yes, it does require enforcement of the law in cases where the father has the funds and is simply not doing or refusing to contribute to the upbringing and the taking care of his or her children.
And we have another question from Chad. He's asking, are there any plans to add dividers to public roads?
Chad, we don't have very wide roads. So frankly, outside of the Morris Bishop stretch, if we may call it that, which sort of has a median, there's very little space to I think, put the kind of dividers that we want. What we're working on is ensuring that we can have the right type of painting, that adhesive or thermoplastic, I think it's called, to actually mark the roads properly so that we can actually have proper medians and we can highlight the edges of the road and so on. But that has to come with the sort of substantive work that we need to do to rehabilitate most of the main roads in Grenada. So it is only after that is completed we'll be obviously putting the markers and so on. So we expect when the cliff portion of the road is finished, you'll see that there. And as we begin in earnest next year to do roads like the Morris Bishop International Airport, all the way up to the cliff, and then from the cliff all the way up to Westall Point, we expect those things will happen.
Hermitage going into Mount Rich, I think that's another beautiful piece of road that has dividers, and you have a clear distinction right, left.
Yes.
So that area.
But
as
even
well.
there, the wrong type of paint was used, and I think we have to make sure that it's remarked. It has to be paint that when you actually drive on it, you feel that you're driving on it, and that is highly reflective at night as well to help with visibility. I think too often, even at the bypass road at the airport, after a couple of months, the paint fades. So it has to be the type where you literally have to scrape it off to get it off the road. So we have to get the right specifications.
Okay. We have another question from Stephen McDonald. He says, I would like to know what is causing the delay in the start of construction of the Windward Jetty?
Mr. McDonald, I actually don't know. I will have to inquire and come back to you on that.
Okay. We have another question from Reds. As my MP, I am kindly asking for a hump sleeping policeman at Close Rock, St. David.
Thank you, Reds. Sleeping, I assume it means a speed bump.
Yes.
Yeah, there are challenges with putting speed bumps all over the main roads, because we have large vehicles, trailer, 20, 40-foot cement trucks. We have the ambulance and so on, fire trucks that need to be able to go over those things. And I'm assuming the Reds is concerned about ensuring that when vehicles get off the minor road into the main road, that it's safe to do so. But there are other tools that are available that we can use, including things like mirrors, including the same thermoplastic type paint, that when you hit it, it actually sort of gives you the warning that you need to slow down, and so on. We simply can't put humps all over the main roads. It's actually inconvenient and doesn't necessarily, in many instances, actually prevent the accidents from happening. So I appreciate that it's a road safety issue, but I think we have to look at alternative means as well to ensure that people are less aggressive and drive a little slower on our roads.
We have another question from Adiba Liquish. Says, a lot is happening in agriculture and food security. Is there a unit or department in physical planning that can expedite housing approvals for livestock so the process is not as long as residential construction?
Thank you, Madiba, for the question. There isn't a particular unit within planning, as far as I'm aware, that deals with any specific types of applications. But if the process is unduly long, I think it is something we can ask the board to look into. I understand the board may have recommended and management may be implementing an expedited approval process, which requires you to pay more. I'm not sure if it has started as yet, but if it has started, then that's one potential approach that could be used. But I can certainly have a word with the Minister of Agriculture and Planning Authority to see whether some approach could be done to facilitate livestock or chicken and those kinds of things, where you're just building obviously for that specific purpose. But environmental and health, I think it's important for people to appreciate that the planning department relies on the Ministry of Health and Environment sometimes for expertise when it comes to environmental and health issues. And sometimes until that information or that expertise is rendered, they're not in a position to approve or not. So livestock, you have to deal with obviously the waste that comes from livestock. And that poses a health hazard to human health, and making sure it's done properly, making sure you have the cleaning systems, etc. Those are some of the issues that have to be addressed as well.
Okay. We have another question from Marilyn Gilbert. My idea is that all the beautiful sightseeing places in our islands should not be free. A price should be paid by visitors and nationals to generate income for maintenance, upgrades, and job creation.
Marilyn, I wholeheartedly agree with you. I think the Ministry of Tourism is already beginning to address some of that, particularly those sites that are visited often by tourists. But it's important to appreciate that the sites must be maintained, and you must have amenities of a standard that people can use: bathrooms, toilets, places to sit, places to eat, security, maintenance, and all of that has to be paid for. And if we don't have user fees to do so, then it comes back to taxpayers' funding only. And the challenge with that, as you know, there's many competing demands for funding from the central government. So I completely agree with you. And I think over time you'll see more and more of that happening.
Okay. We have another question. Oh, it's a wrap. All right, so that's for the DMs, the direct DMs. We have to take a quick break. And when we come back, then we'll take it from the streets.
As part of commemorating and celebrating CARICOM's Energy Month for the year 2025, I am happy that my ministry have been able to launch a flagship program for us, My Baby, the Solar for All. Solar for All is really and truly about bringing clean, reliable, renewable energy to low and middle income households, whereby we are able to help with the cutting down or the lowering of electricity bills and costs for these households. And what we have been able to do is twin it with some of the assistance that government already has in place. We have targeted in the first phase persons who are within the low income and middle, to some extent, strata, where the housing program underneath the Ministry of Social Development and Housing were able to give these recipients and beneficiaries a home that they can call theirs. And for those households, we have been able to step in to giving them the solar energy.
For the past 6 years, I've been going through some health problems, and we've been going through a lot because I was diagnosed with lymphoma cancer, and it's been tough. So we had to be renting and up and down and stuff, and then I go to the minister and she helped me out. Thank God. I appreciate it and everything, and she gave me on the housing project, put me on that, and then now we on the solar project.
Ultimately, what we want is to ensure that our homes are much more resilient, and that in the event that there is a hurricane, there is a storm, any other natural or tropical disasters, that our families and our household owners can bounce back almost immediately. So solar is the way, renewable energy is the way, and I'm happy that we're able to do this so that the people on the ground who we represent, who I represent, feels it and understands the importance of the ministry.
Welcome back again, everyone. Of course, like we said, it is DMs with PM, your direct access to the Prime Minister to ask your questions. We just concluded the DMs where you sent your messages directly. We will now head to the streets with Norris to get your questions for the Prime Minister.
All right, welcome to DMs on the Streets. What's your name?
Pinero Thomas.
All right.
Yeah.
Ask the Prime Minister your question.
Well, Mr. Prime Minister, we're doing a lot of good work. Things are happening, but I would like to see some more in St. Andrews, not East, because I want us to carry that seat.
All right, well, thank you, sir, and we certainly intend to carry the seat. I don't know if you perhaps heard part of my presentation during the budget. I listed a number of things that were happening in St. Andrew Northeast, and I was making the point that even though we are not the official, our party doesn't carry the official MP from the Northeast, Dr. Tessa Sensei has been doing significant work there, and the government is also making sure that the residents of St. Andrew Northeast get their fair share of national resources that are allocated across the country. So we will continue ensuring that more things happen in St. Andrew Northeast.
Thank you, Finero. We have another one?
All right, good afternoon. My name is Norris Francois. What's your name?
My name is Raymond Peters.
All right, Mr. Raymond, ask the Prime Minister your question.
Yeah, Mr. Prime Minister, I need an answer for this question because the airstrip, I want to know the reason why the SSU them cutting off the road at night time or evening times. And we have to go through a kind of rugged area to come up to really doing some mix and a set of drums, and they don't know like no marking around it. It's kind of hard. People just capsize it. Most people hear the accident and things. So I would like to know the reason why the SSU and them locking it up, and if they should continue or whether they should open up the road right too. So that is my question.
All right, well, thank you for the question. I actually was not aware that that's happening, so I think it is something we will have to discuss with the police and the Ministry of Infrastructure. If it has to be done for security reasons and there's an alternative route, then we'd have to ensure that the route is actually traversable and safe. And if it needs lighting or if it needs improving, then it is something we can do because the Ministry for Infrastructure actually has one of its base at Pearls close by, so it is something that we should be able to address. So I'll take note of it and I will make the inquiries, and then if we have to take any action, we can do so.
Okay.
You
have another question?
My name is Miguel Sanchez.
All right, welcome to DMs on the Streets, man.
Yeah,
Ask the Prime Minister your question.
Yeah, well, my question is for to develop the place with a skate park, bicycle skate park, smooth on the airstrip. Well, and nothing much again, and everything could be right. Smooth on the airstrip for the drags and them. And you put a skate park, cycle skate park, wow concern skateboarding, and BMX cycle stunt.
Okay, nice.
Stunt park.
Yes.
That will be good.
All right.
Yes, I actually think it's a very good recommendation and suggestion. I think as a country we have to make a determination as to what happens with Pearls Airstrip because it's kind of just sat there. Obviously, as he says, the drags use it for racing, and we also have the Ministry of Infrastructure having a base there, and so you have a coal mix and so on taking place, and you have the SSU base as well. But it's part of our built history. It was our first airstrip, and I think just from the preservation of that from a historic point of view so that people understand what traditional flying was like before Maurice Bishop International Airport, I think that alone is something that's worthwhile. And second, we also have to take sports and things like the bicycle track seriously, because I know one of the complaints from young people in particular is what other activities can they do in Grenada. And I think certainly I support outdoor sporting activities, so whether it's bicycle, whether it's drags, as we popularly call it. I think those are things we can perhaps have a more deliberate discussion about, look at what the investment is required, and then see how we can promote it, both as activities for our domestic market and for young people, but also regionally as well, to see how we can convert the site perhaps into an entertainment complex that facilitates that. So I'm very grateful for the suggestion, and it's something we can have some further discussions on.
Do you think it would be viable as a second option if we were to think of opening hotels, resorts in the northern part of the island, the Pathway, Liver area? Do you think it would be viable to have that option?
Yeah, I think as a small airstrip for sure, because it could be lit. So you could have small planes landing. Certainly for vertical helicopters and so on, it could be used as well. So I think that's also an option. If we can get multi-use, it depends, I guess, on the quality of the surface and what we would need to do to maintain the runway and whether we can actually use it for drags and at the same time use it as a landing strip for a plane. So if we can have multiple use of it, I think that would obviously be a preferred course. But we do have a hotel being built in Leverett. So whether you have smaller private planes and so on wanting to land there rather than landing in St. George's, that's certainly an option, and it would probably save a significant trek up from St. George's as well.
Okay. We have another DM from the street.
All right, good afternoon.
Hello.
What's your name?
Michael Lewis, of course.
All right, well, tell the Prime Minister what you have to tell him.
Well, first of all, I must tell the Prime Minister heartfelt thanks for the help that I'm getting presently now, together with Mr. Sincere. And I was in pit latrine for over the past years, and I'm getting bathroom and toilet now, so I'm very glad. So, thanks and thanks you. That's all.
So it wasn't a question, but a thank you.
Well, it's testimony that things are happening in St. Andrew Northeast. We are very happy with the fact that some of our senior citizens, and sometimes we place a lot of emphasis on women, but here you have an elderly gentleman, and I think it's the same challenge, whether it's male or female, especially for elder citizens, if they have to go out into the elements to do basic things, like use the bathroom. So we're happy that we have the opportunity to provide those services to the citizens of St. Andrew Northeast, and I could assure him that more will be done to ensure that other citizens who are in a similar position, especially elderly citizens and women with children, have the opportunity to ensure that they can have the confidence to know that at night or early morning or in inclement weather, they don't have to worry about going out into the elements to do basic bodily functions.
And I think we have our final DM from the street.
All right, good afternoon, miss. How are you?
Good afternoon, Mr. Francois. I'm fine, thank you.
All right. Well, tell the Prime Minister what you have to tell him.
I have to say I am very much pleased and happy with the Prime Minister because he give us all what we need at the moment. We have food for our children in our homes. We have money to spend, and we have good health. And the country is very, very well taken care of. So I want to encourage him to just keep on doing what he's doing, because we will be better off tomorrow. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you.
Yes, amen. No, thank you very much for the compliments. And I'm happy to see this week that the residents that are featured on DMs from the street are from St. Andrew Northeast. And I think for me that's important to emphasize that we're not an administration that is focusing on the 10 constituencies that we want, that we are focusing on the country. We are trying to ensure that all citizens, regardless of where they're located, get their fair share of support. And I'm happy that the residents in St. Andrew Northeast are appreciating that and are thankful for it. And I want to assure that we will continue doing our best to continue leading the country.
Fantastic. We have to take a quick commercial break, but when we come back, of course, we will be taking your calls, so stay tuned.
Cinnamon, one of the signature designs of Project 500. This 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom home spans 1,122 square feet, crafted for sustainable and modern living. The design features efficiency in wall, windows, and roof, engineered to reduce your overall electrical consumption by minimizing heat buildup. A cooler building on those hot days. Inside, you'll find low-flow plumbing fixtures, which reduces water usage. Efficiency without sacrifices. With 3 spacious bedrooms, this design offers a retreat for all members of the family. With an open floor plan comprising of dining, living, kitchen, dedicated laundry, utility closet, water storage, solar panel, and parking for two, and an area for outdoor home gardening. The Cinnamon balances functionality and style. At Project 500 is more than just building homes. It's about developing sustainable communities and delivering quality homes for all families.
Welcome back again to all our listeners and viewers to DMs with PM. And of course, in this segment, we take your direct calls. And we have one little favor to ask of the callers. Please try to be as brief as possible so we can accommodate as much calls as we can. All right, so condense your questions so that the Prime Minister will be able to answer in a timely manner and we'll get more calls in. All right, so 423-3104, that's the number to call to ask your question, 423-3104. I believe we have our very first caller online. Caller, good evening and welcome to the program.
Good afternoon, Mr. Prime Minister.
Good afternoon, sir. How are you?
I'm not too well, and I think you know why, but I'm happy with your performance. I just saying, I tried couple of weeks and I wasn't getting near, so I realized things are happening. When I get you, I realize things is really happening.
Yes, things are really happening, and I will
things
try.
Things are happening. I mean, who have eyes with see?
Yes, and I'll.
If them can't see, and I do have no eyes, and I could see things happening, well, boy, you have to turn things around.
All right. So,
I want to say a special good afternoon to you and your NDC team. And before I say anything, I realize we have a death in the family. A family member, mother passed away, and that is Mr. Robinson. I must take time off to say my deep sympathy with Mr. Robinson with the passing of his mom. I know he just lost his father, and he lost his mother. Well, there was say, boy, everybody at the time, because it happened to me already. I want to say, Mr. Prime Minister, I am fully satisfied with Tessa Sensei's performance, and I want her to continue doing what she's doing and improving in it, and as well as your host, she's improving every day. And I want to say, Ms. Delma Thomas and Gloria Thomas, I am pleased with them, and my MP from the tongue of St. George in waiting. I will always say advance congratulations, because I know things are happening.
So much, caller. Thank you so much. We have to take another call.
Okay, so don't forget Mr. PM. All right.
All right, I wouldn't.
All right, thank you. We have another caller online. Caller, good evening. Welcome.
Yes, good evening. Good evening. I just want to make the observation, the derelict vehicles, Grenada has literally become a dumping site for those Japanese vehicles. I think everybody, any community could attest to having some derelict vehicle parked by the side of the road and so on. I mean, I love my 473. I really want more push to remove all these derelict vehicles and so on that's handbugging traffic, and that's just naturally unsightly and unhealthy. Thank you.
Thank you, caller.
All right, caller, thank you. Yes, we agree with you. In fact, as you recall, we launched a program to, in fact, do just that in conjunction with MIT and the Solid Waste Authority. It is something we will continue to do, but again, that is reactive, as in after the fact. We have to, as I said, encourage a more robust public transportation system so that people feel less tempted to have to buy private vehicles. It is a major challenge. It will require a whole of Grenada consensus as to how we deal with it, and it will require a number of policy initiatives. But I agree with you. It is a major challenge that we must tackle.
Caller, good evening. Welcome to the program.
Good evening to you and good evening to the Prime Minister. I'm calling from Calgary. Mr. Prime Minister, I came to Windward and I haven't seen no work on the jetty, Mr. Prime Minister. Mr. Prime Minister, is there any money given out for the Windward jetty yet? I want to know if there is any money have given out to the Windward jetty as yet, and how much money was given out. Up to now, a pile hasn't driven in the seawater yet. Mr. Prime Minister, what happened to the mount for the Windward jetty? Thank you very much, and I'll see you on Saturday, please the Lord.
All right. Well, thank you. I think the question was raised earlier about the Windward Jetty, and I gave a commitment to look into the matter and come back with a response. I will certainly seek to do so, and I'll have the Ministry of Infrastructure and the Ministry of Carrico and Petit Martinique Affairs address the issue. I do have to correct the caller, though, because regrettably, I will not be able to be in Carrico on Saturday as I would wish to be. Hopefully, I can make up for that in the not-too-distant future.
Caller, good evening. Welcome to the program. Go right ahead and be as brief as possible, please.
Good afternoon.
Good evening.
I'm
Go
calling
ahead.
from Toronto. Yes. My question is for the diaspora homecoming. I think we received some information regarding the date, which is June 21st to July 5th. Is there a possibility that could be revised? Because I know a lot of people might be coming home for Carnival, and it might interfere with the dates for Carnival. It's so close by. So is there any possibility we could revise that date, please? Thank you.
Thank you. It's our first attempt at having the diaspora homecoming. So I will say that nothing is set in stone, but I think the thinking behind the dates was, I think, first to ensure that we are not in the winter period, because during the winter period it's very difficult to get hotels and other accommodation, and it's also perhaps the priciest time of the year as well. So I think the idea was that we wanted to sort of get over the winter period, and I guess May, June, or July. In June, it is not that yet, I would say, close to Carnival. I think Carnival in its earnest is really maybe the last weeks of July, first weeks of August. So I think that's why the thinking was June to July. So I'm not so sure it will really interfere with Carnival per se. But it is something that I can certainly take back to the Minister for Foreign Affairs and the Ministry of Tourism, who are the two lead government departments that are dealing with it, to perhaps make sure that they get stakeholder feedback as to whether this is the best time to host the events.
Okay. We have another caller online. Caller, good evening. Welcome to the program.
Good evening.
Go right ahead.
Okay, mine is a request. I'm trying to find out when I'm going to get a hug and a photo from the Prime Minister.
The PM, there's a request for hugs.
Yes,
and
well,
photos.
I can answer it by saying whenever I'm available to do so, I can endeavor to do so. So it's Christmas. There will be lots of engagements at Christmas time, hamper distribution, a toy giveaway to our kids. So there'll be lots of activities in St. David's constituency. So perhaps once we publicize when and where we're doing so, the caller can come for a photo. I think we start next week at Latan Junction with the Royal Grenadier Police Force Band and the residents and kids from the Latan, Pomrose, Malmont area. So perhaps the caller can come up to Latan when we're having that event.
Can have a Hug the Prime Minister Day. Caller, good evening. Welcome to the program. Go right ahead with your question.
Yeah, good evening to you, Rona, and good evening to the Prime Minister.
Good evening.
Mr. Prime Minister, my concern here is that of licensing upgrade. And I'm happy and applaud the move that was given to upgrade drivers who have a B class and are willing to get a B, and so that they could drive goods vehicle, small goods vehicle and stuff. Now, I as a person who has a B1, meaning I can drive a special license vehicle, I've asked for an upgrade some time ago, just for the purpose of driving a small public service vehicle. I was told that is a no-no because of the fact that you are driving passengers, so you must prove your competency. What I'm saying here is to drive a truck over how much tons with blocks, gravels, what be gasoline, whatever. Yeah, it's way more difficult than to drive a small van or so, just do taxis. Yeah, with 7 or 8 passengers. Yeah. Now, as I said to you, you give the upgrade and everything is okay for us to get an upgrade to this. And this could be a big deal because I am seriously saying, sir, I prefer every day that someone prove their competency to drive a truck than just being given an upgrade. I say this to say to you, sir, it is much more difficult, especially most trucks are manual, to drive a truck than to drive a small van carrying 7 or so passengers. So, all of what I said, we hope that this could be looked into, and someone carrying at least a D1 license or so, looking for an upgrade to a C-class, for a C-class, I'll say, add it to it, just to drive a van or so, for a taxi or so, to make a daily living.
Thank you, caller. Thank you so much, caller. I think we got
All
the
right.
gist
No,
of
thank
it.
you. I mean, these are policy issues. I think the caller has made a valid point. I can't disagree with him. I don't drive a big truck, so I'm not in a position to personally dispute that. But I also have to say I don't know that you could equate gravel and sand with human lives, right? So we also have to factor in that when it comes to driving passenger vehicles, there is increased risk because if something goes wrong, there's a greater risk that people on board will be injured. But having said that, I do think he's making a valid point. We are always keen to look at whether the policies are suiting the needs of the country and whether it makes things more difficult or easier for citizens while at the same time safeguarding the public. So I'm sure this is something we can look into and have further discussions with the RGPF, the Ministry of Legal Affairs, the Ministry of Finance, the Transport Department, and see whether there's a need for further revisions around these issues to improve. Driving is essentially a skill that facilitates economic activity, and we want to ensure that, frankly, if every Grenadian can drive, we think it gives an advantage to the citizens of the country. So, in principle, it is something we would be prepared to look at.
Okay. We have another call. Caller, good evening. Welcome to the program, and please try to be as brief as possible, please. Thank you.
Good evening.
Good
I'm
evening.
calling concerning the maternity ward in the hospital. Prime Minister, whenever you get a chance, you should go and look at the condition that some of the females have to deliver babies in. I mean, it looked like if it's a storage room that they put 3 beds in. It's very cold and it's uncomfortable for mothers to deliver babies. So also, the nurses that's delivering, I don't think they take pride in the job that they're doing. And delivering is a hard job. It's not easy. And the nurses don't even hold their hands. They're shook. It's like they're angry at the job they're doing. So whenever you get a chance, I want you to go to the hospital and look at the maternity ward. I think at least that should be one of the best rooms in the hospital for mothers because it's not an easy job. So that's my concern tonight.
Thank you so much, caller.
All right. Well, thank you for the caller, and thank you for drawing the issue of the state of the maternity ward to my attention. I certainly will have a conversation with the Minister of Health and the management team at the Ministry of Health and the hospital to see whether there are opportunities to improve the amenities there. I can't speak to what actually happens, obviously, in the maternity ward because I think only nurses, doctors, the mother, and perhaps the father of the child are permitted to enter. So obviously, I will not be able to enter unless there is no one there and no one is delivering babies. I would probably say that, obviously, as she pointed out, being a nurse is not an easy job. I certainly think the management at the Ministry of Health and at the hospital, and I think the nurses are obviously doing their best to try and ensure that they remain professional and they do deliver professional services at all time. If they do falter, obviously we would want to encourage them to make sure that they continue to remain professional. But at the same time, I want to thank them obviously for the work they do in supporting the mothers who deliver. And so maybe simply working on soft skills and sometimes not buckling under the pressure to perhaps become less empathetic and to always recognize that at the end of the day, obviously persons who come to hospitals are usually coming there in their less than ideal state, so that we could keep the empathy levels high so that people feel that they have a good experience, notwithstanding whatever challenges that may be taking place.
Caller, good evening. Welcome to the program. Go right ahead with your question. Good evening, caller. Go right ahead.
Hi, good evening. I have 3 things that I want to mention, so I'll try to be really brief as possible.
Thank you.
For the hospital, I think that we should also look into maybe installing or fixing the ceiling fans because the patients they're always hot, and then you would always have to bring like an individual fan, and you can hardly stand there. A long time ago, you would have chairs next to the bed, so if you're visiting someone, you can have a seat. The last few occasions I've been there, you have to stand for lengthy hours if you're waiting on a doctor or whatever it is. So that's one. The terminal, from the tunnel to the terminal, I also think that we need to look into some ramps, because if you have a wheelchair, there's not access to the sidewalk. And I think I forgot the other one. That's it for me.
Okay.
All right. Thank you for your very practical suggestions and recommendations. We will certainly note them. Some of them appear to be quite easy fixes, things like ceiling fans or chairs for persons to have access to in the event they're visiting loved ones. Subject to, obviously, to it not, I think, interfering with the operations of whatever the nurses or doctors or administrators have to do. But I think those are practical suggestions that we should be able to, once it's feasible and will improve the experience of persons at the hospital, be able to implement. So thank you.
Caller, good evening. Welcome to the program. Good evening, caller. Okay, let's see if we can get another one. Good evening, caller. Welcome to the program.
Hi, good evening, Aruna. Good evening.
Good evening. Go right ahead.
Good evening.
I'm just calling. So I live in the diaspora. And my question is, given the rapid global evolution of hospitality standards and the clear value Grenada places on education for tourism, are there any current or planned initiatives to actively attract hospitality professionals like myself, especially those interested in contributing to education and training perspective to help enhance Grenada's tourism product and upskill the local talent?
Yes, thank you very much for that question, and the answer is indeed yes. The Cabinet Office, the Prime Minister's Office, and the Ministry of Education has put together a project delivery for centers of excellence specific to education, technical and vocational training, and that project team is led by Valerie Gordon Cornwall. It includes a permanent secretary on specific assignment to address this issue, Ms. Nyla James, and it includes a project manager, and we backed with some administrative support by the Tony Blair Institute, which is providing secretarial support or secretariat support to the initiative. One component of the Centers of Excellence is in fact identifying whether it's a single location or multiple locations where we can have delivered hospitality training at the high standards. And obviously to do that, we would need to have both trainers who can deliver that and the curriculum developed in consultation with our partners and stakeholders so that we can ensure that we are accredited and we can deliver that. So if you are interested, I would certainly encourage you to reach out to Ms. Nyla James, who is the Permanent Secretary on special assignment for this project at the Ministry of Education. You can provide her with your CV, provide her with the fact that you're interested, and you may very well find that there may be work sooner rather than later for you to be able to help us with this process.
Good evening, caller. Welcome to the program. Go right ahead with your question.
Hello?
Good evening. You're all live. Go right ahead.
Oh, hi. Good evening. Yes, I have one. Welcome to the program. Go right ahead with your question. One is conversation with Mr. Prime Minister, and two suggestions really. I don't know, probably you can explain to me how it works in regards to opposition and leader of parliament. Is it possible that when opposition that you can have a meeting like beforehand, before parliament, like meet with the opposition, members of the opposition, and discuss so that when we get to parliament, it wouldn't be that loud and aggressive way? Is that how it's supposed to be done, like meeting in parliament and presenting everything like a surprise to them? Or is it possible to meet beforehand and say, hey, this is our plan, this is what the budget looks like, this is what we intend to do for the coming years? Yes, please help me to understand. Because to be honest with you, I the aggressive way in which the debate goes on, to me, coming to look like how other parliamentarians in other countries, like the disrespect to stuff like that. And I think that all of our parliamentarians are doing so, but it's just that I'm just thinking that you can have a one-table session with the leader of the opposition and the team.
Thank you so much, caller. I think we got the gist of it. Thank you.
Speak with them and be like, okay.
All right. No, thank you very much, caller. I think I should, particularly in relation to the budget, explain the process. Nothing is taking anyone by surprise when it comes to the budget process. The law in Grenada, particularly the Public Finance Management Act, which governs how the budget is prepared, requires that the actual estimates of revenue and expenditure be submitted to the Finance Committee. The Finance Committee is made up of all the members of the lower house of Parliament, that is all of the elected members, and the Speaker of the House. And the Finance Committee has to approve the estimates of revenue and expenditure before the budget is actually presented. So whether it's a week, 2 weeks, or 3 weeks, or 4 weeks, depending on the calendar, each of us, the Finance Minister, who chairs the Finance Committee, and all 15 members of Parliament are provided with the estimates of revenue and expenditure together with supporting documents, and vote by vote. Now the votes essentially refers to the allocations per department or per ministry. So there's a vote for the Ministry of Finance, there's a vote for the Ministry of National Security, etc. It basically tells you the amount that is budgeted. It also gives you information as to how much was budgeted the previous year, how much was spent versus what was budgeted, etc. All of this is presented way in advance to everyone. Members of the opposition, as well as even members in the government, have the opportunity to ask clarifying questions to the Minister of Finance and the Minister of Finance team. So the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Finance, the Chief Budget Officer, and the supporting team, they attend the Finance Committee meeting. And they can ask any question, they can request any information. So that approval process has to first take place. After that is approved, then the final estimates of revenue and expenditure is actually presented in the form of an appropriation bill, which then seeks parliamentary approval for the budget. The only thing that the opposition will be hearing for the first time will be the budget speech. But I want to emphasize that the budget speech is not the budget. The budget speech is simply a narration. The Minister of Finance, in fact, doesn't have to do a budget speech. He can simply present the bill. He can ask members if they want to debate, they can debate on it. Members could choose to speak or not speak. And then ultimately, members of Parliament are required to vote on it. But because the budget and the appropriation bill essentially sets out the government's policies for each particular year, and sometimes each particular year in the context of a 3-year plan, it is a very important document because the numbers are meant to tell a story, what the government intends to do, what policies it is pursuing, what it is prioritizing, what it is not prioritizing. And you also get to measure whether the government is performing well or not, because if you budgeted to do certain things and the money is not spent, for example, it sometimes implies that you're not implementing, and therefore you then have to find out why that is the case, what is the problem, and so that you can fix it. How the debate is conducted in Parliament, however, is in a sense entirely in the hands of the members of Parliament. Whether you choose to be aggressive in your approach to debating, whether you choose to attack other members, whether you choose to just debate on policies, entirely up for the members. So I would say this, there is no need for it to be that way. And I also want to emphasize that not because there is robust debate or passion, does that equate to disrespect, or does it equate to persons not liking or disagreeing on a personal level. So we have to also remember that members are entitled to debate passionately, to make their case strongly and forcefully. But please do not equate that to any personal animosity or so between members in the House. And certainly from my perspective, and I think I can speak for all members of the House, I don't think there's any personal animosity. When the debates are over, people talk, they laugh, they go and sit in the same room and eat. So it's important to remember that.
A very important point indeed. We have time for one more call, so we'll get to that now and then we'll come back to wrap up. Caller, good evening and welcome. Please be brief. You're the final caller. Okay. Good evening, caller. Go right ahead with your question.
Hi, good evening. So, from a few events, from time to time, I would hear the Minister of Agriculture making mention to opportunities to export to the Canadian market. So I don't know if this one would go to the Ministry of Trade or Agriculture, but Mr. PM, it would be nice for us to look into it and see what we can come up with so more Grenadians can get that opportunity to start exporting or a pack of containers at a date and it goes straight to the Canadian market once we get the market there. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you for that. And yes, we are certainly trying to see how we can encourage Grenadian producers and suppliers to be able to find new markets, including the Canadian market. So the Ministry for Trade, as well as it depends on what has been exported, but the Ministry of Trade would sort of be the lead ministry on this. If it's agricultural products, obviously there may be some input from the Ministry of Agriculture, as well as other supporting agencies, Bureau of Standards, Produce Chemist Laboratory. Because in exporting, you have to meet the export conditions and standards set by the importing country. And so that's one of the things we have to ensure that we are able to do to make sure that we can be successful at exporting and growing the export business.
Okay. And this is our final caller. Caller, good evening, welcome.
Hi, yes, good evening. Good evening, Prime Minister. Good evening, Arona. I live in the diaspora. I'm a medical provider, and I just wanted to know if you can give a little insight on the reason why the clinic in Petit Martinique has taken so long to rebuild after more than a year.
Sure. The challenge with Petit Martinique is Petit Martinique has no facilities even for the persons who are building the clinic to live on. So it's a logistical challenge. We have to appreciate that in the context of the hurricane and even before that. It's part of the reasons why some of the homes in Petit Martinique were destroyed as well, is that there isn't really even a landing site proper to store materials. So whether it's sand, gravel, cement, outside of the sort of playing field area, which is next to the jetty, it is very difficult to actually bring and store aggregates on. That's one. Second, a significant portion of the labor has to be brought into Petit Martinique, but there's no place for them to stay because there are no homes, there are no guest homes. And so that also presents the challenges. And then there was significant damage to the health center in Petit Martinique. So we have to be able to find an appropriate contractor who has the skill, the men, and who would be able to build in the context in which it is happening. And so that's really the challenge that we face. And sometimes people say things like after a year, even outside of responding to a hurricane, it actually takes about a year to build most buildings. If you have to design the plans, if you have to get planning approval, if you then have to do a procurement process, the procurement process requires you to get the bills of quantities, to issue that to the public or contractors. They have to then give you the estimates as to what they think they can build the building for. You then have to do an analysis to decide which of the three is most competent and gives you best value for money. And then you have to enter into the contract stage with the contractor. These things usually take 6 to 8 months. And then the contractor has to build, and the building process is usually 6 to 8 months. So I think it's important for us to appreciate that construction is actually not something that happens quickly. And when it's exacerbated by a situation like a hurricane where there isn't even a place for the contractors or the workmen to stay, if they're not from Petit Martinique, then it makes it even more difficult. So all I would say to those who are still impacted by Hurricane Beryl and even the government services, obviously, we are asking for your support. We are asking for you to be patient, and we assure you that brick by brick, we will seek to move as quickly as we can in ensuring that we don't just build back, because that's one of the issues, that we build to code or to standards to make sure that what we build can, in fact, have an improved chance of surviving another storm, another hurricane, as the case may be.
Okay. Well, that was our final question, and of course, this is where we come to the end of yet another DMs with PM. I told you an hour goes by pretty quickly. So as we're about to wrap up, Mr. Prime Minister, of course, a little while ago you mentioned about having an event. Freedom Christmas is around the corner, having events and people getting their hugs and what have you. Maybe you can close off with that so folks know where to find you in the community.
Yes, I don't have the dates exactly in my head, but certainly starting from next week, I think all the way perhaps leading up to the eve of Christmas. I will certainly be in, well, for one, my constituency and other constituencies as well, doing toys distributions, hamper distributions, getting a chance to serenade with citizens and residents, be they senior citizens or kids. So I'd say look out for the schedule coming soon. I believe Latant is next Thursday, but I'm subject to correction. But we will certainly publish the venues and the list of events that I'll be attending or present at. And as I said, the public can come and celebrate the Yuletide season with us.
Yeah, the hugs and photos. Don't forget that part. Guys, it has been an absolute pleasure taking you through this hour again. And of course, I want to say special thank you to our partner stations, Power FM, Vibes FM, Karakou, Star FM, Fusion FM, GBN, WeFM, GIS, and to you, the viewers on YouTube and Facebook. Thank you so very much for always being here and being such a wonderful audience. As always, to the production team, thank you so much again for taking us through this hour. And we will see you guys again next week, same time, same place, for another DMs with PM. Have a good evening, everybody.